Askreddit, what do you think is the single greatest photograph in history? The photo of Bruce McCandless floating untethered in space. That is fracking terrifying. Prepare to meet thy God. A bomb disposal expert walks to defuse a potential explosive device in Northern Ireland, 1970. I've never seen this picture before, but it's hauntingly beautiful. Did the man survive? The first Hubble Deep Field. Pale blue dot. Humble brag, my parents are in that picture. Zbigniew Religa. After first 24 hours heart transplant operation, the patient outlived him. This is the one that came to mind for me. This has been my favorite photo for years. The look in his eyes, the scrubbed tech or resident in the corner, HOR floor. I just love it. This is the single highest resolution picture that has ever been shot. Looked at this for hours, just searching for something new to discover. Edit. Love looking at the hilarious things you guys found. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks for that. I spy a white van under a tree. Some extra info, it's the back side of the van, there is also a bicyclist and a street sign. My vote would go to The Burning Monk. In the same respect as craziness happening before people's eyes, I'd like to submit this photo a smart photographer managed to take of the crowd watching as the South Tower collapsed on 9/11. The Last Jew in Vinnitsa, 1941. Imagine what he'd already been through, just for it all to end like that. His face is what got me. It's so gaunt, he was barely surviving as it was, and a pit filled with bodies is the last thing he ever sees. It breaks my heart. For me it's this picture of a nuclear blast a fraction of a second after it detonated, by Harold Eugene Edgerton. Edit, got timeframe wrong. Is there a size reference for how big this is? German soldiers react to footage of concentration camps. You can read more here. The Allies' policy of denazification included a form of rehabilitation where German soldiers were forced to watch a film about a concentration camp. Turning the camera from the footage onto the audience, you need only look at their faces to feel their grief and shame. I see it as a testament to our humanity, and that even those who have done the most heinous things don't have to be unreachable. For me it's a hopeful picture, that we can be better. And that said, the forced confrontation is crucial. If they weren't made to face the horrors that they'd been a part of, any other steps that might have been taken wouldn't have mattered. Saturn. The Earth is visible too. The bright spot on the left, that's us. This is the modern equivalent of the pale blue dot. Made me realize how dirty my computer is. I had to wipe the screen to see which one was actually the dot. I'd say that Tank Man is one of the most iconic. Here is a different angle from a moment or two before the iconic photo most people are familiar with. Tank Man is in the top left. And it's two photographs, but together they tell a story. Here is Joseph Goebbels at the 1933 League of Nations. Here, he is a few minutes later, after finding out the photographer was Jewish. Edit, the photographer was Alfred Eisenstadt, who also took the famous VJ Day in Times Square picture. He lived until 1995, and was still working in his 90s. Damn, his eyes are creepy. 9,000 bodies etched into the sand in Normandy to remember the lives lost on D-Day. Edit, the art installation is called The Fallen, created by Sand in Your Eye if anyone was curious. This is the first photo in this thread that I haven't seen before. History is crazy, and yet, I usually feel so removed, like, I can't even imagine the things I learn about in history. This photo shows you what you can't imagine. Thanks for sharing. NSFL, a mother and father having to sell their butchered children, during 1920s Russia. First time a photograph shook me. The Great Famine in China from 1959 to 1961 killed almost 45 million people. Survival cannibalism was practiced there as well. There is a word in Chinese, which I can't remember, that loosely means to trade dead children between families so that parents don't commit the sin of eating their own kids. Hell on earth. Edit, it's a Chinese phrase, not a word, but I'm at a loss to remember what it is. Apologies. Edit 2, here's R.I.Bleach. Or head to Shorpy, one of my favorite historical photo blogs, if you need uplifting but still want to browse historical photos. Pillars of Creation edit, UCLXIX painted an awesome one. I love this one. It is so incredibly beautiful. The size of the pillars is breathtaking. Nagasaki from ground level, and edit, well this blew up no pun intended, edit 2, ooh shiny thanks. My grandfather was one of the first Australian Navy vessels to go into Hiroshima 24 hours after the bomb dropped. He said the only thing that stays with him after all these years that he remembers was the smell. Edit, wow I did not think this would blow up. Apologies about the inaccuracy, I asked my grandmother about what my grandfather did in the war and he was on a minesweeper for the RAN and was one of the first RAN vessels into Hiroshima within 24 hours of Japanese surrender. In my defense I was only 8 when I first heard him get asked about it. She also responded with, what is a Reddit? This D-Day photo is pretty unbelievable. It doesn't feel like a world in which something so epic could take place exists any longer. The one of the soldiers' POV getting off the boat comes to mind too. The vulture and the little girl gets me every time. If you ever get a chance to read the story behind this photograph, you should. Heartbreaking. One of the most gut-wrenching I have seen. Also this one. When Belgian King Leopold II ruled the Congo, he killed 10 million people and did things like cut off their hands, feet, and genitals. Here's a picture of a father looking at the hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter for failing to meet her rubber quota. To elaborate on this a bit more, this is all he had left of his daughter. She was killed and allegedly cannibalized by the members of the Belgian militia. More info that I didn't know about can be found here. Man who refused Nazi salute August Landmesser, born 24 May 1910, 1 Kia 17 October 1944, confirmed in 1949, was a worker at the Blohm plus Voss shipyard in Hamburg, Germany. He is known as the possible identity of a man appearing in a 1936 photograph, conspicuously refusing to perform the Nazi salute with the other workers. 2-3. Landmesser had run afoul of the Nazi Party over his unlawful relationship with Irma Eckler, a Jewish woman. He was later imprisoned and eventually drafted into penal military service, where he was killed in action. Eckler was sent to a concentration camp where she was presumably killed. Edit, thank you so much for gold. Dreams really do come true. In all seriousness, we should all try to be like August Landmesser a little more. Also, RIP inbox. There should be a movie about this guy and his wife. Love in cruel times. This photograph of presumably the last Atlas lion. And the photo of the last male northern white rhino with his keeper weeping. Update, thanks, you, Silverton Good Sage for adding the link and you, Scatman by Night and you, R Bond 86 for corrections added above in ital. And the only reason they got it was because the one guy was getting a shoeshine, so they were pretty much motionless for a while. It's interesting how you can become famous completely unexpectedly and in this case, presumably even unknown to you yourself. This guy probably got his shoes done, paid, and went about his day, and he had no idea that people decades later would be seeing it happen and that it'd be one of the world's most significant images. The Death of an Iraqi Soldier, Highway of Death, 1991 by Ken Jarecki. If I don't photograph this, people like my mom will think war is what they see on TV. Edit, NSFL. My brain can't even comprehend this is real. It looks like something from a movie. Surprised nobody has suggested the blue marble yet. It's NASA's most popular image in the entire archive, and is credited with helping to kick off the environmental movement. Here's a great article about it. Edit, you can join the crew at the exact moment they took this picture at non-mobile only. This website lets you re-experience the entire mission in real time. I think it suffers from being in the same category as Earthrise and Pale Blue Dot. But even so I agree that it's strange no one mentioned it until you. The photo of an atom was pretty incredible. That's honestly amazing. Big J. McNeely, Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium, 1951, by Bob Willoughby. Edit, thanks for the silver. More info, it doesn't seem that the name of the song was documented while this photo was taken. But his audience reacted this way commonly during his performances. In his LA Times obituary, they quote a 1952 review of his concert, that he turned the event into a veritable Hepcat jive orgy when he came off the stage into the audience. In 2009, John Willoughby, the photographer, said of McNeely, Big J stood in the middle of what normally would be the fight ring, playing his heart out, and the crowd was exploding around him. He created some sort of resonance with the audience. In some weird way, he seemed to be playing them. Find yourself a man that looks at you like that dude looks at that other dude. A lot of the best ones have already been linked here, so I want to share one of my favorites, this photo of a priest during the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution. The contrast between the worn riot shield in one of his hands and the cross in the other, along with his religious garb against his respirator, is something I found incredibly powerful. A friend of mine likened him to a real-life paladin. There's something so battle-hardened about the look in his eyes. Respirator, I'm glad you pointed that out, they look like headphones. For me is this one, the most beautiful suicide, probably NSFW. IIRC, she was gelatinized when she hit the car and she fell apart when they tried to remove her. Probably already somewhere in here, but East German soldier defecting to West by jumping over the Berlin Wall when it was only barbed wire. This happened on the third day of its construction and the picture became a symbol for the Cold War. Whole story can be found here. And it is actually painted on the wall of a building in Berlin at the checkpoint where it happened. I used to go jogging past it almost every day. I've a soft spot for this picture of an American Civil War veteran posing with a military jet. It really shows the incredibly progress made in the space of a lifetime, how one man could go from a battlefield on which muskets and cannon won the day to a world of rockets, missiles and supersonic aircraft. And there he is touching a jet. American Civil War veteran posing with a military jet. Unfortunately, that man may have been lying. He states he was born in 1848, though records show he may have been born in 1859 to 1860, and therefore not actually a veteran. The last verifiable vet died in 1956 though, so this photo was still very much possible. Such a great post and has been an introduction to so many awesome pictures and stories. I really like this one picture where workers in New York, I think, are doing construction on a skyscraper and they're all sitting on this giant steel beam that's just hanging hundreds of feet in the air. It's called lunch atop a skyscraper. Edit. Anyone who is freaked out by this picture or who likes it, I think you should check out James Kingston on YouTube. Watch someone climb with bare hands and no tethers to the highest heights, it's unbelievable. Almost every lifetime journeyman ironworker I know has this picture on their home somewhere. This picture of two engineers who hug each other knowing that they're going to die. Someone in the comments says they actually survived. Edit. Must have been terrifying though, sad face. Edit 2. Not so sure about that anymore. First edit stands nevertheless. Tragic. : NASA's new ultra-high-res photo of this galaxy, released 2019-01. Holy shit, the full resolution download is 1.6 gigs. For an image. That's impressive. I don't know if someone has posted this already, but the picture that changed the face of the AIDS is one real deal. The look the father has on his face. His world changed for the worse that day. This is so sad. A lot of these pictures are very grand in their scale or impact of what was going on in the photo. This is just one family, but it is this photo that brings me so much pain. I hate seeing that face. No matter who it is, whenever I see that face I can't do anything but feel pain. I feel so sorry for them. The photo of the child that was trapped under the debris of her house for 3 days before dying has to be up there. I forgot about this one. The first time I saw it I couldn't stop thinking about it for days, so haunting. Photo 51, the first photo showing the structure of DNA, image taken by Rosalind Franklin in 1952. Just a small correction, this shows the X-ray diffraction pattern of DNA, not the DNA itself. The pattern was used to deduce the helical nature of DNA. A lot of the photos being posted are quite sad, but this one makes me happy, smiley face. Edit. Wow. Thanks for my first and second gold, guys. Hope you have a happy day. Thank you, I love it and I really needed to see that after all those sad pictures. I really like the sense of pride and control I get from the, I assume, older brother, and the pure joy of the sister. Also as someone who has zero experience with horse riding, that looks super uncomfortable for the girl. Is it? Or is the ride smoother than I think? Edit. Also never Google stuff, I googled the picture and found this. Chiapas Racers, 2003 Pulitzer Prize for Feature Photography. Photojournalist Don Bartletti documented the desperate migration of Central American children searching for parents who had immigrated to the United States, and now it's sadness again. I couldn't name a single one, but here's a phenomenal photograph that I'm not sure if it has been mentioned yet. I love this photo because it was used by both Germans and British but presented to in different contexts. Germans showed off the image as proof of the bombing effectiveness, but the British saw a metaphor of their own sturdiness. Stiff upper lip and all that. Probably not the greatest, but I'd like to share Fernando Aiuti's kiss. Fernando Aiuti was an Italian immunologist who passed away just a few days ago. This picture of him is extremely important because he's kissing a woman affected by HIV. He did this in 1991 in response to an article falsely claiming HIV could be transmitted by kissing, in a time when popular knowledge about HIV and AIDS was extremely vague. That's an amazing story, thank you so much for sharing. Please subscribe. Multiple videos uploaded daily.